Hello you beautiful people, and welcome to another Whiskey Review with me, the Whiskey Novice. Thank you for joining me. It is review number 173, part 3 of my latest series of A Baker's Dozen, looking at 13 12-year-old Scottish single malts, and we are back in the Highlands with Loch Lomond. We do love Loch Lomond. Well, I certainly love Loch Lomond, and one of the reasons why I love Loch Lomond is because it gives me the opportunity to have a
Michael Henry moment.
Yes, a Michael Henry moment. I do love a Michael Henry moment. And it's good to reach out to Michael. I've said it before, I consider him a friend. And but a friend with benefits in the fact that he is the master blender for Loch Lomond and of course Glen Scotia. But so what have I done? Well, I've asked Michael for the ins and outs of this one, Loch Lomond 12-year-old Inchmoan. This one part of their 12-year-old series now, the Inchmoan, Inchmoan and the Standard 12. So as I've reviewed the other two before, so it was the time for the Inchmoan. This one, the peated one of the Island series, Island collection, and this one being the peated one. So Michael, graceful as ever, came back with all the details. Maturation I was already sort of fairly sure of on this because it was I knew it was the same as the 12-year-old series. It's the same maturation for all three. Being that maturation being first fill bourbon, some first fill recharred American oak, but mostly refilled American oak. Now strap in, because this is where it starts to. Michael knows his stuff, and so I'll explain. I'll just, as per usual, I'll just read it verbatim as Michael has told me. Loch Lomond Inchmoan 12 is distilled from heavily peated malt, 50 ppm, distilled 3 different ways and matured individually. The style of distillation changes the phenols that come over into the new make spirit. Well, we sort of knew that anyway. Swan neck still gives a mainly medicinal / phenolic character. This style is similar to what most other distilleries do. Straight neck still with wide spirit cut gives mainly a smoky character, and straight neck still with the narrow cut points give a spicy character. As I said, it's an awful lot. I'm not nearly finished yet. The swan neck still is the least selective, allowing more heavy aggressive phenols into the new make, with the straight neck still narrow cut points being the most selective and cutting out big flavours and allowing more subtle spicier phenols to come through. I've read this, I haven't finished yet, I've read this about 3 times and it's only starting to make its way into my head now. After 12 years, we combine the 3 styles in composition that reduces the medicinal peat character, keeps the smoke and brings out more spicy peat flavours. By using the distillation this way, we get more balanced peat character that no other distillery can, that no other distillery can produce due to the different distillation styles. It gives something different rather than talking about ppm level and peat source to create flavour. There. Oh, I hope you understood that. I understood that on, as I said, I think my 3rd pass, and it wasn't the fact that it's just that it's very detailed. And I appreciate it, Michael, once again, if you're watching. It does make sense. So listen to this through. If I remember, I'll actually put that into the video description below, if I remember. Because it is... I just love the scientific side of things there, that it's saying, if we try this, do this, and maybe do a bit of that, and then bring it all together and see what happens. Fantastic. Repeating it is mind-blowing. This is the fact that they've managed to get it to this point. I know then that you do the same process, but it's just magical. I bow down to these people. So that's basically the warts and all of Loch Lomond Inchmoan 12-year-old. So what's it taste like? Well, before we get there, 46%, non-chill filtered. Michael did say there is a hint of colour added. Obviously not an awful lot. I wouldn't imagine there's an awful lot. So what's it like? Well, it's Loch Lomond, isn't it? And the thing about them is that they're starting. I've been around Loch Lomond enough now to know that they have a very, very distinctive nose and a very distinctive palate, which is great. It's a palate that I like. So when you fall in love with a specific whiskey or a specific distillery, you don't want them to stray too far from what they're good at. In my opinion, that's, I know what I like about Loch Lomond, so I want that to be in there, and it is very much here. It's Loch Lomondy. It's got a greenness about it. A peated expression, yes. And Michael did say that it tends to sort of lean more towards the smoky, or lean more towards the smoky than the medicinal. I would agree, but it doesn't come across as either terribly smoky or medicinal to me. It actually brings out more, I would suggest, dark chocolate notes. You know there's peat involved in the malt here. You know it. And it's not a case of saying, and I know we've heard the term before, peat blind. It's peat, but it's just, it makes for a totally different character in the way that they have moulded it. Chocolatey, perhaps a little synthetic. And then, given time, you're treated with sweeter, fruitier notes. Pear, toffee apple. Once again, that chocolate note is very chocolate and chocolate caramel. It's weird that the peat almost, I would suggest, any smokiness almost separates itself. Round, sweet, sour, slightly bitter. Arrival. Now the smokiness is there. It's a dry smokiness, but a clean smokiness. Clove, creme caramel. All of these notes all come very quickly and all hang around. More pear, more toffee apple. Very, very clean. Oh yeah, and there's a sharp tanginess right at the very back of the palate. Pipe tobacco. Yep, orange. Black currant. And a nice thread of chili heat running through there. Another one that gets better and better. It gets better and better the more you stay with it. Finish, sort of medium length. Little hot, clove. Still, slightly synthetic thing running through it for me. The smokiness is there, as I said, more so on the palate, but it just, it's bizarre. It's not, I wouldn't suggest it's been over-engineered. It's just bizarre. And yet, all the while, that Loch Lomond note running through in the background. Now, when I go back to this, there's an oiliness, there's on the nose, there's even a slight funkiness, a bit, not unlike Campbelltown funk, which I always describe as being a bit sort of 3-in-1 oil. This is also got that sort of hint of sweet, mechanical something. There's a slight powdery sweetness on the nose as well, and more milk chocolate. That, what I said earlier on about being dark chocolate, caramel becomes more milk chocolate. Palate, little lighter, little sweeter, some cola notes. Very definite cola notes. Finish remains much the same, not just as hot, slightly sweeter once again, that finish. Yeah, once again, the cola and clove hang through in the finish. I've had a bit of a roller coaster with this one. I'm not saying I dislike it. Once again, and I don't, I'm not sitting on the fence. I'm not saying just because I consider Michael a friend, just because I love Loch Lomond. This, once again, I think I said it with the Loch Lomond 14-year-old whenever I reviewed it, wouldn't necessarily be one of my favourites in their range. The Inchmoan, the fruity one rather than the peated one, I prefer. I think lends itself better to their spirit. Very, very capable of doing a great peated malt. I know they are. I've had great peated malts from Loch Lomond. This one, not bad, don't get me wrong, but just not one of my favourites. Around the 35 to 45 pounds. Fantastic price. Non-chill filter, 46%. 12-year-old, that is a fantastic price. And one that I would still recommend. I don't know that I would replace it. Simply because there's other Loch Lomonds that I would lean toward. I'll probably drag this one out. That it is that slightly synthetic note for me. A slight greenness. That I know greenness is sort of hard to explain, but just wouldn't be one of my favourites in their range. I'll just leave it at that and say thank you to Michael once again. Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. As I said, I do like it. Just find it a little something. It's just not for me, this one, in their range. So what would I recommend? Well, I'm going to go to somewhere else in their range, and it's this one, the Loch Lomond. This is one of their single grain. Now, this is the peated single grain, which I'm sure anybody who's sort of on through their journey a little will know that this isn't actually a single grain. Technically, it's malt. It is peated malt, but it's ran through their column stills, so it cannot be called a single malt. If it's ran through column stills, it becomes a single grain. This one I found incredible. This is bottled at 46% again. Floral and smoky. This, as a single grain, which once again malt ran through, I'm saying column stills, they're calling them the coffee still. Coffee still, column still, continuous still, whatever you want to call it. This is dirt cheap. I just couldn't believe there was this one and the non-peated version of this, and when they were released, I could not believe how cheap they were, how inexpensive. And that's Loch Lomond in general. 35 to 45 pounds, I said about the 12-year-old Inchmoan, and as an incredible price. But this one here was around I think this was in the low 20s, 20 to 25 pounds, for a 46% whiskey, which once again is non-chill filtered, I believe. Non-chill filtered. Yeah, there'll be a hint of colour added, but that's a phenomenal price. And weirdly, this one worked better for me. I really like this one, the peated single grain. So that's my suggestion. There's other peated whiskies I could have suggested, but I would rather stay. I mean, if you've been drinking the Inchmoan and you haven't tried the peated single grain, give it a go. It's different. It is different, and it just, for me, whatever way that they've not necessarily matured it, but whatever way they've manipulated it, just worked better for me. Still a very clean nose on this. it's distinctly Highland, I would say, about this one. As in, if there were a heavily peated Deanston, this would remind me of it. Maybe there is, I just don't know it. Anyway, I will leave it at that. Thank you all very, very much for joining me. Thank you very much for my patrons. Should you wish to join that group or know anything else about that group, I will leave a little thing up in the corner here explaining about my patrons, explaining more about my patronage. Thank you all very, very much for joining me. Till the next time, my friends, here's to your good health. Cheers. Hey, thanks for watching my video. Please click and subscribe to be notified of further content.